we all follow the same path. We're born, we live, we die. And along that path, you have different capabilities for communicating, which start when you're an infant mewling and puking in your mother's arms, as Shakespeare would have said. So, when you're born, you have limited communication capabilities. The only thing you can do is scream and cry. What you're doing when you're screaming and crying is announcing need. That's about it. As you start to get older, you start to learn language. And along that path of learning language, you also learn to exist with other humans in different ways. So before language even starts, children can do what's called parallel play. Two mothers get together, or two parents, I should say, get together. They set their children on the floor next to each other with a bunch of toys, and each infant picks up a toy and starts rattling it, shaking it, sucking on it, whatever they do to make themselves happy and to soothe themselves and to amuse themselves and to learn. It's essentially what kids are doing when they're learning. So that's parallel play. At a certain point, the babies will start to notice each other and they'll start to cooperate or compete or both. And that's when your sense of self and other starts to kick in. So if one baby is playing with a toy and the other baby takes it, the second baby will cry because his toy is suddenly gone, and he'll pick up a different toy and either start a push-pull with the other kid or maybe bonk him on the head because he doesn't have any understanding that that's not considerate, or all those things that kids do where they're basically, their awareness of each other is more competitive than cooperative. A little bit further down the line, kids start learning that it's fun to play with each other's toys. So that's when you start developing friendships. And at the beginning of that period, the friendships are often based on, I want to go to so-and-so's house because he has great toys that I like playing with. And they might not care that much about the actual personality or character of the person that they're playing with, but they love going over there because all the toys are so great. Then the next phase is the phase where they start realizing that some kids are more fun to play with than others because of the way they play. And then that transfers into some kids are more interesting to talk to than others. And you transfer away from play and into communication. And that's when children start choosing friend groups. And it's when the importance of communication really starts to kick in. Because now communicating is about expressing self, sharing opinions, understanding other, rather than just stating parallel needs and figuring out whose needs win out over whose. When people get to the point where they start to choose friendships rather than having those friendships chosen for them, when they start stating preferences, there's an element of it where it's a reflection of self, that my friends reflect my character because we find things in common, and it's shared enjoyment rather than cooperation or competition. So to a certain extent, when you look at a kid or you look at a young adult and you're judging what's going on in their life, it is reflected in the people that they choose to be with, because they're starting to make moral judgments, they're starting to make creative choices, they're starting to have judgments on the basis of, what's the balance of pleasure versus investment, that hanging out with this person who makes me laugh or I find interesting or who I find attractive, or whatever the reasons are for wanting to spend time with them, they become much more complex. And those complexities can only be understood through various expressions of meaning. The first and foremost of which is language, but there's a myriad of other languages other than just English or French or Italian or Spanish or whatever language you speak that come into play.